Hi everyone, my name is Brianne Willoughby Brown and I'm the Social Media and Marketing Manager here at Canadian Fertility Consulting. I'm so glad you could join us if you're here watching this live, and if you're catching this as a recorded version, be sure to connect with me if you have any questions that you have after the presentation. I'm so grateful to be here today speaking with you all about the absolute miracle that is surrogacy. It is such a special thing, so thank you for taking the time out of your day to participate in this webinar. Feel free at any time to type your questions into the chat or question box just there on the right of your screen, and I will make sure to get them answered during our question period at the end of the session. So first I'm going to introduce some of our presenters today. We have Courtney Caldwell, who's a two-time surrogate who last year delivered twins and is also one of our surrogate intake specialists. She's going to be speaking with you today about the intake process, what to expect in the early stages of your journey, and about the medical process of surrogacy. We also have Angie Campo joining us today. Angie is our Surrogate Support Department Manager and a very familiar face in the surrogacy industry around the world. She's going to be talking to us about the CFC Sacred Surrogacy Program and the Sisterhood of Surrogacy, and a little bit about her personal journey as well. Then we're going to have our CEO, who is a two-time surrogate, three-time egg donor, as well as a leader in the fertility and alternative reproduction industry, Leah Swanberg. She's going to be speaking about the benefits of surrogacy and what surrogacy and intended parents have brought to her life, as well as a little bit about who we are here at Canadian Fertility Consulting. Then we're going to have one of our very experienced surrogates share a little bit about their personal journey. And at the end, we're going to finish with a question and answer period. You can direct your questions to the person that was speaking. If you want to speak to anyone further, their contact info is going to be at the very end of the presentation. So feel free to email them or connect with me with any questions that you have. We would love to speak to you further after the session to answer anything about how you can help us build a family. So I'm going to hand it over now to Courtney, and she's going to share with you a little bit.
Hello everybody, my name is Courtney and I'm going to tell you just a little bit about the intake process. So first off, what's going to happen is once you have initially reached out for information regarding our surrogacy program, we're going to send you an information package just to take a look over, and you can keep it as a resource for later on. Once you've had a chance to go over that, we will then schedule a telephone interview. That's going to ensure that you're a good candidate for our program. This process is also going to make sure that you understand it fully. We want to ensure that you have an excellent support system outside of our sisterhood as well. During the actual intake process, it's going to give me a good idea of who you are as a person, what your likes are, your values and beliefs, your termination values importantly. But it's also going to give you a good idea of who I am as a person and the agency that I stand behind. So once this application is completed and we have gone through it step by step, it's going to be assessed by two of our fertility doctors, sort of like a pre-screening thing ahead of time. Once your application is done, you will be introduced to one of our intended parent support associates who will be responsible for helping you find the perfect fit and will help you build a relationship with them. Once you have been introduced to your intended parents, you're going to spend a couple weeks getting to know them. You want to strongly make sure that this is a good fit for you guys. You are going to be spending a good solid year of your life with this couple, which is quite fantastic. Once that's done and you guys have collectively made the decision to move forward as a team, you're going to go on to your medical screening. The medical process, it starts with your screening, where you're going to be medically cleared to move forward by one of the fertility doctors. Where you're going to do your screening, we're not 100% sure yet, as you'll find out once you're matched with your intended parents. You will need copies of your birth records for the doctor to review, as we do want to ensure your health and that of the baby as you're carrying with a surrogate, as a surrogate, my apologies. You will have blood work done, a full physical, a PAP, and a counseling session with one of our fertility counselors who will chat with you and make sure that this process is fully understood and that you're emotionally ready to embark on this journey. With IVF, you're not running off of a natural cycle, therefore you are required to take estrogen, which is taken in pill form, and that starts 2 weeks prior to becoming pregnant, as well as progesterone, which can be taken in 2 methods, either once daily injections or suppositories, and that is started 3 to 5 days prior to becoming pregnant. Which method you choose for your progesterone, that's entirely up to you. You are on these medications until 12 weeks along, until your placenta is strong enough to take over, and then you'll stop your medications. I just wanted to kind of go over why I became a surrogate and what was important to me. I was blessed with 3 children of my own. I had no issues becoming pregnant. And it wasn't until my youngest was about 6 months old that I realized that I needed to give somebody else the opportunity to feel this overwhelming sense of joy. So I reached out to CFC and I started my process, and they were incredible, an incredible support network for me throughout my entire journey. Anytime I had a question, they were always there. I was blessed to give 2 men 2 beautiful girls. It was absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Brianne.
Thank you so much, Courtney, for sharing about that. That was fantastic. So it does sound a little bit overwhelming if that's the first time you've heard about the medical process that goes along with surrogacy and IVF. It is a little bit overwhelming, but that's the fantastic thing about the level of support we have in our surrogacy department, where they're able to break it down for you on a one-on-one phone call or in person and really explain everything every single step of the way. And I think that's really fantastic. So thank you so much, Courtney, for sharing that and for sharing a little bit about your journey there as well.
Thank you.
So now we're going to have our surrogacy support department manager and experienced surrogate Angie Campo talk a little bit about the Sisterhood and our Sacred Surrogacy program. So I'm going to hand it over to Angie. Yeah.
Hi guys, my name is Angie and I have been working with CFC for over 3.5 years now. It is definitely a life calling. I find that surrogacy is. I did my own journey 4.5 years ago now, and it definitely is one of the most amazing things I've ever done. And so I want to talk a little bit about the Sisterhood of Surrogacy. When I signed up for surrogacy, I thought I'd come into this journey and that I would meet great intended parents, and that would kind of be it. It would just be this, wonderful journey I'd walk with people. And I was really surprised when it was a lot more than that. I actually met some of my most, treasured and best friends through surrogacy, and I was introduced to this group, which when you become a surrogate, you're added onto this community, and it wasn't like any mom group I had been a part of, because many mom groups are, a little bit catty sometimes and have lots of debates and stuff. It was very different. It was this tribe of women who were just wanting to lift me up and support me and answer all of my questions and just really be there for me. And I remember within like the first week of me being on the page, I was introduced to a woman named Melissa, and she said, like, come for coffee, let's meet, let's go talk. And I was really quite amazed at how welcoming these women were. And I mean, I continue to see that, now I've been in the field of surrogacy for over 6 years, and every day I am shocked and amazed at how women are just willing to just drop everything and support the woman in the sisterhood. Something that I loved last month was we had a surrogate deliver, and the woman in her area put together a meal train of frozen meals and dropped off her doorstep because they knew, you just delivered and it's time to recover and we want to take care of you. And so this tribe is just, it's truly unique and just amazing in itself of how caring and amazing you're going to be surrounded by these women who just get it. They get what you're doing and they want to support you and they want to, hold your hand up through each step of the way. And, there's over 400 women in our sisterhood that are just like ready to help you each step of the way. It truly just baffles me every time. So when I first came on, we were doing these like micro retreats where we get together and enjoy each other and have a fun together. But Leah and I knew that it needed to be something more, that we needed to have time together with these women where they could connect and let go of any fears they may have surrounding the journey and really just be honored rightfully in their path. So we created these sacred surrogacy events where we get the women together and spend an entire weekend together talking about the process of surrogacy. How do we self-care for ourselves in this process, and how do we walk away from this with a full cup rather than empty? And so we run these amazing retreats where we just spend an entire weekend without our children, which as a mom, that's huge, to be away from our kids for an entire weekend. I mean, you can't ask for something better than that. And we just talk about what it means to be a surrogate, and you sit in circle with these women that really get it, that get what you're doing and want to support you. And it's just unbelievable. I actually have an amazing quote from one of the girls who attended our last retreat in BC. It was just a couple weeks ago, and she said, my wish is that every surrogate could experience sacred surrogacy. Every surrogate deserves to feel as honored, loved, and supported as I have felt after experiencing these retreats. I am forever changed. And that's from Angela. She is a three-time surrogate who worked with us, and she is just, listening to her just speak about how empowered she was from this retreat, just it makes me realize what we're doing is truly important. And so we actually run these retreats from one side of Canada to the next, and recently we just had one in Paris, France, and also in Australia, because surrogacy isn't just here in Canada. We want to bring it to everyone. So we're pretty proud of our sacred surrogacy program and are actually gearing up for another retreat in just a few weeks where we're going to spend an entire weekend with over 60 women who are all doing this crazy thing, and just spend time with them in circle and just honoring them and making sure that they feel really respected and valued in this. Now the last thing here is, why am I returning surrogate? So for me, surrogacy is something that I feel like it was laid upon my heart. I feel like I was called to it. Before I even had my own children, I knew that one day I would have a baby for someone else. And back then I didn't really know what surrogacy was, but I knew that I would help someone have a baby. And so when I gave birth to my surrogate baby, the look on that intended mom's face as she welcomed her baby and held him for the first time, there's nothing that beats it. It's the most amazing moment of life besides your own children's birth. And to know that you can give that to someone and give them that moment, and a moment that continues on where they're going to have Mother's Days for the next, the rest of their life. You're giving them sloppy kisses and homemade treasures and things that we take for granted as moms. There's so many people that, absolutely just deserve that and want that. And so to know that I can give that to someone, for 10 months of my life, a commitment of, pregnancy, which is something that I love, why not be able to give that to someone? So I would love to talk to you more about our Sacred Surrogacy program if you have more questions at all, and I'll pass it back to Brienne now.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Angie. That was fantastic. The Sacred Surrogacy program is something that is so special, and I really love going to the retreats, and I love hearing about it. It's just such an amazing process and something that a lot of people have really put their heart and souls into. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now we're going to have our CEO, Leah Swanberg, is going to share and about her experiences. So I'm going to pass it over to her.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to learn more about surrogacy. It's been something that has changed my life in many ways, not only professionally in terms of me running this organization, but personally has as well. At 16, I placed a child for adoption, and as I was going through that process, there was this sign on the school counselor's door, and it said, "If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life." And I loved my adoption experience so greatly and so deeply. I knew that somehow, family building would be a part of my life, but at 16, I had no idea how much of a part of my life it would be. I went on to have 2 daughters, and a neighbor of mine had mentioned surrogacy to me, and they were struggling with infertility, but they were very religious and just weren't sure if their religious values would line up with surrogacy. And so after a year of them deciding and praying about what was going to work for them, they realized it wasn't surrogacy. So at that point, I went out in search of a surrogacy agency that could help me become a surrogate, and I found one, and I went on to complete 2 surrogacies, carrying a single baby and then a set of twins. And it was, they were both beautifully messy, life-changing processes and journeys that I went through. And I learned more about myself than I think I had thought I'd signed up for, which was an absolute blessing for me to really grow through these journeys. And, I often refer to surrogacy as a rite of passage as a woman to be able to give this beautiful gift. And, it truly is, because with each pregnancy, we're changed, our bodies change, our views change, who we are changes. And so it's just been an amazing and immense pleasure to watch, women go through surrogacy and change and grow as people. And it's been equally as amazing to watch people become parents. And I sit across from people often that I'm interviewing to become intended parents, and I look at them and I just see these glimpses of amazing parents, and I see these husbands who want to fix this for their wives, or I see these husbands who want to fix this for their husbands, or and it's just amazing the commitments that intended parents are willing to make, the trust that intended parents are willing to place in another person who is going to carry their child. That's not lost on me as a mom now to 5. I couldn't be that brave. I couldn't imagine trusting someone else to carry my child, yet we have intended parents that ask us to find that special woman every day. And as a woman-run organization with 20 staff, all women except 2, which are my husband and another guy who works for us. Women's rights, we're a women-centered business, and for me that's really important, because whether whatever values you have are important to us, and it's important that we find intended parents that share those values with you, and that for intended parents we find surrogates who share those values, so that the year plus that you're working with these people, that we've got the details, we've got your back, we're going to support and care for you. We're going to put the people in place that need to be put in place in terms of the psychologists and the fertility clinics. And as Courtney touched on, when you do an intake with us, we're going to be really detailed to the point that you are just going to have, every detail that you may or may not have wanted to have. But we do that because we want you to know that that this is a big decision, and we really honor that that you're considering becoming a part of it. You know, my personal journey's changed me for the better, and they showed my kids what selfless giving was about. You know, I catch my teenager talking about surrogacy to her friends. All my kids that are old enough to have written a report on, you know, surrogacy for school, and you know, they're all very proud of the accomplishment our family has had. And I'm sure there are people in my life that maybe aren't sure about surrogacy and don't agree with surrogacy, and that's okay. You know, the sisterhood and the support and the other women, you know, that are involved in surrogacy, you know, will also help you through, you know, the days that aren't as great with surrogacy, because pregnancy, you know, is beautiful and wonderful, but it's also messy, and, you know, hormones and morning sickness and all of those things that you're all familiar with as moms. But that gift and watching these people become parents right in front of your eyes because of something you've done is just remarkable, remarkable feeling. And so I would welcome all of you to, you know, to spend time today or in the coming week really thinking about, you know, is this something I want to be a part of? Does this sound like something that I'm being pulled toward or drawn to? You know, and we are all here, as Brianne said at the beginning, to answer your questions and information share with either yourself or your partner, to really make sure that that this is the best decision for your family if you decide to move forward. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to join this webinar. And if you have any questions for myself as the owner of the company, I can be reached on this info@fertilityconsultants.ca website, and I look forward to hearing from you and answering any of your questions.
Thank you so much, Leah. That was great. It's always nice hearing you talk and hearing your story. It's just inspirational. Now we're going to have one of our experienced surrogates is going to be sharing her story. She just completed a second journey with us, and she's pretty great. I like her. I'm a fan. So yeah, I'm going to hand it over to Brittany, and she can talk to you a little bit more about her life as a surrogate.
Hi, everybody. Well, thank you, Brianne. I think you're kind of awesome too. I guess I'll start. Like, I'm currently starting on my third journey. My journeys have all been pretty great. It's just been such an emotional, awesome journey. Like, my journeys have been awesome and emotional and wonderful. My first journey was pretty picture perfect. From start to finish, delivery was great. During my journey, during the pregnancy, you know, everything went fine. There was really no, it wasn't messy, and it was kind of picture perfect. Everything went great. Everything was wonderful. Everything was right on track. The delivery was, again, great. It was quiet and peaceful, and it actually was just the intended mother and my doula and myself, obviously, and the nurses and the doctors. It was just so empowering, just having a room literally full of women who were there supporting me, and it was just, I can't really explain it. It was just kind of totally awesome. Once their daughter was born, the look on the mother's face watching her daughter come into the world, and just watching her hold her baby for the first time, it kind of resonated with me. This is the reason why I'm doing this. This is the reason why I was called to do this. It's just, there's really no feeling like it. And then once Dad came in, watching him fall in love, and it was amazing. Seeing it twice was just awesome. the next day, my kids came to see the baby and to, hold the baby and all that fun stuff. So it was kind of, yeah, and we still keep in contact with them. We have a great relationship. My second journey, this one was, the second journey was a little more messy, it was, I learned a lot about myself, I guess I should say. I had quite a few ups and downs, and I learned how strong I am and what I can take and handle, and that I can be a support for somebody else in this journey. The parents and I have a connection, honestly, like we became so close over the year of trying to get pregnant, and everything just, it was so amazing. Once we finally did get pregnant, we were all so ecstatic, and the pregnancy was awesome. It went perfectly. Everything was great. The mom and I talked weekly. We became like best friends, and actually more like family. They came to my ultrasounds and all that fun stuff. And they were both, when it came to the birth, near the end of pregnancy, things get a little emotional, and it was still, they were so awesome. They respected me so much. At the birth of their daughter, honestly, it was my favorite birth of my 4 births. It was quiet. I was completely surrounded by love. It was so peaceful. The nurses were awesome. Everything was just so amazing. Yeah, I can't even explain to you the way I felt during my birth. It was so awesome. And again, watching these parents, I couldn't stop looking at them while I was in labor, just watching them, how excited they were and how happy they were, and watching them fall in love with their daughter again. Like, it was just so, so amazing. And the intended mom, when her daughter was born, she actually didn't leave. She stayed going with her baby. Of course, her husband went. She actually stayed with me to make sure that I was okay and that I was fine. And there's just it was so emotional and so fulfilling. And you realize that this is the reason why you're doing this, giving these people this baby and birth it, like carrying their baby and helping them with this it's the reason why you do this. Like probably like 20 minutes after I gave birth, my kids were there and everybody was in the room, and it was so full of love, and they brought my family into it, and it was just, I can't even explain to you how amazing it was. Yeah, I've had great, and I'm on starting my third journey, and so far so good. There's a reason why you do this, and it's the love and the care and knowing that you're helping somebody and you're changing somebody else's life and the emotions that come with that. Well, thanks for listening, and I'll hand it back over to Brianne.
Thank you so much, Brittany. I remember when Brittany had delivered this most recent Surro baby, and the pictures got put up on our one of our support boards online, and I just thought, oh, this is so amazing. I always cry when I see the birth pictures, but I think because I feel like I know Brittany quite well, that it was just super emotional. It was very, very awesome, and the relationship that she had with her intended parents in both journeys was something that was really special. So thank you so much, Brittany, for sharing your story. So now we're going to have some time for questions. I've put up on the screen there some of our social media that you can check us out as well. So I'm going to unmute the other presenters. So if you have any questions for any of them, you can type them into the chat screen or into the question box. We do have one question in there now that I will get to. Lauren, thank you very much for your question. But yeah, and then you can direct it to a specific person or just a general question. If you have a question for Brittany, let me know and I can unmute her as well. And yeah, we have a couple questions coming in, so this should be good. Okay, so our first question from Lauren, and I'm going to direct this one to either Angie or Courtney. So Lauren asked, is there any issues with a woman who has had their own children and later in life those children are diagnosed with developmental issues? Would that halt the process of having a surrogacy journey?
Right. Okay, I'll take that if you're okay, Courtney.
Absolutely.
So you aren't genetically related to this baby at all. So we're not looking at the genetic material of your children. What we're more looking at is how was your pregnancy? Was it healthy and safe? And would there be any issues moving forward for you or the baby? So your genetic link to the child, or issues that your own children have, that doesn't matter.
So maybe, Angie or Courtney, you could clarify the difference between a gestational surrogate and a traditional surrogate.
Absolutely. So a gestational surrogate is someone who carries a baby who is of the genetic material of either a donor or the intended parents themselves. Traditional surrogacy, which we don't really do, is that of, your own genetics. So your egg would be used and then the sperm of the intended parent would be used, or a sperm donor.
Great, thank you. So another question that I got in my inbox here is, what happens once I am matched with a couple or an individual? What would happen? What does that stage in the process look like?
So I'd like to go ahead and answer that. It's Leah here. Our goal is that your relationship with the intended parents is very insulated and protected from the process. We want you to spend the first 2 weeks of being introduced to a couple, really getting to know them. So whether that's in person if they live locally to you, whether that's over Skype or FaceTime if they live in another part of the world, as many of our intended parents live overseas and in places where surrogacy is absolutely prohibited. So many of our clients are in France or Australia or Italy or Spain, places where surrogacy is absolutely unattainable. So the way that you'll build that relationship with the intended parents will, be dependent on their location and dependent upon your comfort level. And so you'll review profiles with our staff of intended parents, and you'll read their story. And when you feel drawn to their story, which will be sent to you based on the criteria you give us of who the people are you'd like to help, we then introduce you, and you have that 2 weeks to sort of get to know them. And then at that point, we would ask you to decide if you're wanting to move to the next step, which would be the clinic screening process and traveling to their fertility clinic to meet with the doctor and the medical staff. And then from there, once you're medically cleared, we move into the very important process of the legal contracts to make sure that all of your needs are covered in that agreement around the items you'd be reimbursed for, and care providers, whether that's a midwife or an obstetrician. And we really create a safety net around that process so that you're not negotiating directly with intended parents on any of those items, that they have that information up front. And then once the legal process is completed, you would move into the IVF process itself. So typically from the time of an intake call to the time of first implantation of embryos, generally is anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And so for a lot of surrogates, they come to us and they say, well, what's next and how long do things take? And I'm really busy for the next few months, and being busy for the next few months is fine, because it definitely takes a few months to get everything in place so that your health is protected, your legal rights are protected, and most is equally important. Your relationship with the intended parents is also what you're looking for, and that you feel as though they're a good match.
Great, thanks for answering that one, Leah. Another one here. Can I stay in contact with the baby and parents after I have delivered? Angie, do you want to take that one?
Sure, absolutely. So when we do your application, one of the questions I ask you is what you're looking for relationship-wise with your intended parents afterwards. So ahead of time, you're going to tell me if that's what you want, then I'm going to find you intended parents that have the same values as you. So when we're looking at intended parents, it's a really important question to ask and find out. A lot of our surrogates have ongoing wonderful relationship with intended parents. With my journey, my intended parents, like I said, was 4.5 years ago. They still send me a picture from time to time and tell me how their little guy is doing. And, that for me is more than enough. But then there's other people like Brittany, who's on this call, who she meets with her intended parents. She was at her surrogate baby's first and second birthday, and she's really a part of the process with her intended parents moving forward. So really, we'll talk about what you want, and we'll find you intended parents that want the same values as you as well.
Great, thanks so much, Angie.
Welcome.
So maybe we could go over, Courtney, if you could clarify what qualifications are needed in order to be a surrogate.
Well, first off, we like to ensure that you've had children of your own. At least one healthy full-term pregnancy, complicated-free. We want to ensure that you're healthy, right? We want to, non-smoker, healthy BMI, and essentially just prepared to be, pregnant in about 6 months or less. You don't want to keep your intended parents waiting too long. So that's some of our qualifications. Absolutely.
Great, thanks, Courtney. Does anyone have any other questions that they want to type into the chat box or ask in the question box? This also, just to answer Deanna's question, this is recorded. So it will be available if you want to listen again. I know we've given you a lot of information today. So if you want to listen again or listen to a specific part, also up on the screen there you can see some email addresses. Any of those email addresses will be able to answer any questions you have about the process of surrogacy, about Canadian fertility consulting, anything like that. The first email address is Courtney's, the second obviously is Angie's, the third one, will be Leah's, and the last one there is mine. You can also take a look at our website, fertilityconsultants.ca. We post a lot of stuff on our social media platforms as well, so you can check us out there. And yeah, if no one else has any other questions, I'm going to thank everyone again for attending, for taking time out of your day. And if you would like a recorded version, please feel free to let me know, and I'd be more than happy to have that available for you. So yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.